Explainer. Today, we're skipping the basics and jumping straight into the deep end of human psychology. We're going to explore the variations in psychological attributes, basically the exact building blocks that make you, you. By the end of this, you're going to have a much richer understanding of how intelligence, aptitude, and creativity all blend together.
Okay, picture this. What if the world was just one color? Literally everything around you is just red, or just blue. It'd be incredibly boring, right? I mean, you definitely wouldn't want to live there. Well, variability is just a basic fact of nature. And just like nature thrives on different colors, we humans thrive on our different psychological dimensions. We can be outgoing, withdrawn, super creative, highly logical. It's what keeps things interesting.
Here is our roadmap for peeling back the layers of the human mind. First, what makes us unique. 2, measuring attributes. 3, theories of intelligence. 4, culture and intelligence. And 5, aptitude, emotion, and creativity.
Let's dive right into Section 1, What Makes Us Unique.
Have you ever wondered why a normally aggressive, take-charge kind of person might act totally submissive around their boss? Well, the concept of situationism explains this perfectly. It argues that the situations we find ourselves in actually influence our behavior way more heavily than our internal traits do. Sometimes these external factors are just so powerful that people with entirely different personalities end up reacting in the exact same way.
Moving right along to Section 2, Measuring Psychological Attributes.
So, human psychology is incredibly multidimensional. Think of it like a 3D box rather than a flat line. To actually get a complete formal picture of who you are, professionals look at 5 distinct domains. They measure your intelligence, which is your general cognitive competence, your aptitude, which is your underlying potential to learn something new, your interests, meaning what you naturally prefer to do, your personality, which drives your behavioral style, and finally, your values, those enduring beliefs that guide your choices.
And to measure those 5 domains, psychologists use a pretty fascinating tool belt. This includes objective, highly standardized psychological tests. They might do in-depth case studies on your personal history. Sometimes it's just observation, literally recording natural behavior as it happens, like watching a mother and child interact. They also use one-on-one interviews and self-reports where you directly share your own factual info or opinions.
All right, Section 3, Theories of Intelligence.
Now, when we talk about intelligence, you can totally forget that old idea of just being book-smart or quick-witted. Psychologist David Wexler really nailed this. He anchored intelligence in functionality. It's your aggregate capacity to think rationally, act with purpose, and effectively deal with your environment. It's all about how well you adapt.
To make sense of the mountains of intelligence theories out there, it really helps to split them into 2 main camps. First, you have the psychometric, or structural approach. This focuses on the what, as in, what specific abilities do you have? It sees intelligence as a cluster of measurable skills. On the flip side, we have the information processing approach. This one focuses on the how, the actual cognitive processes and neurological systems that make intelligent behavior happen.
Building on early structural ideas, Louis Thurstone broke intelligence down into this really interesting checklist. He argued it's not just one general factor, but actually 7 independent primary mental abilities. So you might be lightning fast at math, that's numerical ability, but maybe you really struggle with visualizing shapes, which is spatial relations. Because these are independent, it completely explains why someone could be an amazing writer with great word fluency, but frankly terrible at inductive reasoning.
Then we have Robert Sternberg's Triarchic theory, which takes that information processing approach and asks how you adapt to or shape your world. Are you relying on componential intelligence? That's your analytical, book-smart problem solving. Or maybe experiential intelligence, where you use past experiences to get creative with new problems. Or you might just thrive with contextual intelligence, that practical, street-smart ability to adapt to whatever situation you're thrown into.
Another really modern approach is the PASS model. This outlines 3 neurological systems working together in a dynamic loop. Step 1 is arousal and attention. You literally have to be awake and focused enough to even notice a problem. Step 2 is coding or processing, where you integrate that info either all at once or step by step. And step 3 is planning, formulating a strategy, executing it, and seeing if it actually worked.
Let's pivot to Section 4, Culture and Intelligence. What's considered brilliant in one society might not even register in another. Western cultures generally promote technological intelligence. This prizes individual achievement, cognitive speed, and really sharp analytical skills.
But look at many non-Western, collectivistic cultures, and the definition totally shifts. Over there, intelligence is heavily tied to self-reflection, social harmony, and the emotional skills you need to deeply relate to others.
Because of these massive differences in how we define intelligence, psychologists have to be extremely careful. If you take a test that was developed in an urban, Western setting, it's probably culture biased. It's going to reward that specific demographic. That is exactly why researchers push for culture-fair tests, assessments that respect the diverse perspectives and intelligent behaviors of everyone taking them, regardless of where they're from.
Finally, let's wrap up with Section 5, Aptitude, Emotion, and Creativity. Let's say you have a tricky math problem. You go to your friend Aman. If you need a singer, you ask Shabnam. Bike is broken, you take it to John. They have specific aptitudes, which is the underlying potential to acquire a certain skill. And notice how this is totally different from an interest. You could be super interested in becoming a mechanical engineer, but without the mechanical aptitude, it's going to be a massive struggle. You really need both the preference and the potential.
But beyond mechanical or verbal skills, there's emotional intelligence. And this isn't just about being a nice person. Emotionally intelligent people are highly sensitive to feelings, their own and others. They literally use that emotional data to solve problems. And crucially, they can regulate their emotional expressions to navigate the world peacefully and keep social harmony intact.
Which brings us to the creativity connection. Creativity requires divergent thinking, coming up with different, completely original answers to open-ended problems. Now, researchers know that you do need a minimum baseline of intelligence to be creative. You have to be able to retain knowledge. But here's the kicker. Beyond that minimum threshold, having an incredibly high IQ doesn't guarantee you'll be highly creative. Creativity requires its own magical blend of imagination, motivation, and environment.
So, we've looked at how we measure our quirks, how our culture defines our smarts, and how aptitudes and emotions steer our lives. I want to leave you with this one thought. Considering all the fascinating, complex ways your brain processes the world, which unique blend of traits, emotional depth, and creativity truly defines the masterpiece that is you? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring what makes you uniquely you.